Pike County Fiscal Court will be called into session. Madam Clerk, have a roll call, please.
Judge Rutherford.
Present.
Magistrate Anderson.
Here.
Magistrate Johnson. Magistrate Murphy. Magistrate Robinson. Magistrate Dodson.
Here.
Magistrate Harris.
Here.
We have a quorum, so now we'll have Pledge of Allegiance led by Magistrate Murphy. You have a copy of the minutes of September 18th meeting. Jeannie and I have reviewed it and found it to be correct. If there are any questions on it, if not, any corrections? If not, need a motion. Have a motion, Magistrate Murphy, second Magistrate Johnson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Judge, it's October 2nd meeting. That's all right. Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson? Yes. Magistrate Murphy? Yes. Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Here.
Magistrate Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Okay. That was October.
I didn't catch it yet. Sorry.
Madam Clerk, you can make that correction to October 18th.
I fault Jeannie, I didn't catch it.
I want to give a little update, if I could, if we're ready to. We know that the Natural Resources Conservation Service, and that is the United States Department of Agriculture, we got two grants, one from this agency, federal agency, and we got a grant also from FEMA, mitigation money from the 2009 flood, and that was to remove people out of the floodplain. So we got a little bit over $2 million from the NRCS, which is Natural Resources Conservation Service, and we are able to announce today that it's a slow process, but that the first two people have been bought out last week, and it was Janetta Ellswick of Meta and Doug and Delina Taylor of Sydney. I believe that that's about 1.5 miles down Big Creek, down at Smith Bottom Loop at Sydney, and I can remember Janetta Ellswick when we had the hearing during the flood at the library at the Johns Creek Elementary School, and when they asked her how many floods she'd been in where she lived, she said, in so many that I can't remember. When it didn't get in my whole house, it got in my basement almost every year. So certainly we're glad that this program is started and hope that it can move on forward. Also FEMA 1841 was that number on the 2009 flood. That was on Mother's Day, we all remember. And it was mostly at Raccoon Creek, Winds Branch, and of course Hollis's Creek and others on the first one. The second one was more so through 460 and 80, which was Hollis's Creek in that section of the county. But we got $3.3 million grant on mitigation for that. And on your monitor is the title research is 95% complete. Completion date is October 26th to complete those. Appraisals are 30%, but they're at the point they're hopeful that those can be completed by the end of this month. So hopefully that program and all properties to be purchased by the last day of the year, hopefully. I know that they have asked for an extension on this to make sure that we wouldn't lose this grant, and I don't think they've heard back in regard to an extension into 2013. But on the FEMA grant, property demolition is scheduled to begin after January 1 of next year and finish by March of next year. So it is, we're glad finally that the federal government has realized that all of the millions and millions and millions of dollars spent in Pike County over the years during our floods, that finally they make money available to move people out of the floodplain and to get them above of where they can't be bothered, and it'll save the taxpayers of the country millions of dollars once this is done. It's going to take years and years for this program to play out. But as the years go by, we will continue to file for grants. Both the United States Department of Agriculture and Jeannie Robinson handles the NRCS. She is the local person contact who is the head of it. Frankie Stacy handles the paperwork. Frankie's CPA in regard to the FEMA work. So we are going to continue to file applications as each year goes by to try to solve this problem that we've had in this county for many years. We are flood prone. We're going to get more floods in the future. We have probably one of the best emergency management, and we've received a national award for that, of being ready when a disaster comes. We have the most modern technology of any county in the country. And Doug Tackett likes to say that that's because we've had so many, and that we're able to use the new technology we have pictometry in this county, which I think there are 4 counties in Kentucky has today. So with pictometry, with all the modern technology we have, the computer system we have, normally it takes FEMA at least 6 to 8 weeks when they come in to even decide if we're going to get declared a disaster. Even the president does declare based upon an estimate, but how much money we get is based upon the inspection. So with our modern technology we got and the program that we got, we're able to give them all the listing of telephone calls that's come into the county and to give them a location. And what a job that Charles Maynard and his people do with the maps that we are able to provide to FEMA and others in any situation that we have. And so we're happy to report on that today.
Judge, before you go any further, I'd like to see if I've got a package here on this table somewhere. I don't have any.
I didn't either. I didn't have one. I had lost mine, Hillman, and I had to recover mine. And Jeannie was writing me a note on it, and I needed the note, so I hadn't recovered it. But next we have the Pike County nuisance ordinance. And when you talk about nuisance, I think that is what is the blighted housing ordinance. And we've talked about that a lot at past court meetings here. That is to clean this county up. And we've been very successful. We passed this ordinance, and this physical court did, in June 2007. And we started a program through our solid waste department, and we have, if you noticed on there, structure has been tore down throughout Pike County. This is a program that's going to go on for years. It's going to take us years to get these blighted houses or dilapidated houses out of our communities. When we set tourism as an economic development tool in the county, then we knew that we had to clean this county up. We had so many people that out-migrated, especially to the north, when the coal business would go up and down over the years, and they'd leave to find employment. And when the coal industry was the only employment that we had at that time, primarily, then the people would go away to school, and they would marry, and they would go, and we would lose their brain power. But to build this county the way it ought to be built in economic development, and to take tourism as economic development, we knew we had to get these blighted houses out. So we asked for assistance from CACO, Kentucky Association of Counties. We asked for assistance from NACO, the National Association of Counties. They cooperated with our county attorney's office, got us ordinance from around the United States, and we asked CACO, and they got us copies of ordinance from in Kentucky. The county attorney's office also took the one at the city of Pikeville and molded together one of the better ones that's being used as a model around the country today of our blighted housing programs. And this has touched every part of Pike County so far. We got a lot to do. The people out there that watches these court meetings, you have telephone numbers which will be listed here today that you need to call in, and it can be determined if it's not a blighted house, whether or not it is a blighted house. And then we'll assign it. It takes about 90 days. The county attorney's office, we're very careful not to violate anybody's property rights. A lot of this property has been in these families for generation after generation. And of course, if we have to go in and clean the property up, then a lien goes on, and we don't really want to do that. That's the reason these figures show that more people has tore their own dilapidated or blighted housing structures down than the counties had to tear down thus far. But we're going to continue with this program and continue to clean this county up and to make these. And I know that our old co-camps and people left here, they passed away up in Michigan or Ohio in past years in the 30s, 40s, and 50s and 60s and didn't come back to check on their property. And you have people who takes care of their property, keeps it in good shape, but next to it has been a dwelling that fell in, and that happened. And it happened a lot in Pond Creek, from the mouth of Pond Creek to the head of Pond Creek, and it happened a lot on Marbone Creek, and then throughout the county. So, yes, this has been a very successful program. We just need the cooperation of the people in the county that owns property that is blighted and is dilapidated to assist us. This is Retired Teachers Week, and it is, and teachers, as you know, they're devoted to the service of teaching our young people, and teachers take time to listen to our young people and to encourage and to share knowledge with them. And our teachers have made a difference in the lives of our students, and Todd and the educators have been privileged to work with the people of this county. And we're glad to participate each year as a county government, as a Pike County Fiscal Court. And Virgil Osborne is president of the retired teachers this year. Hobart Dye is the vice president of the retired teachers. And we're certainly glad to be able to recognize our retired teachers who gave their all to our young people and help build this county to what it is today. So it's great that Pike County retired teachers, they receive, and I was made aware of this the other day in the proclamation, $28 million plus in retirement income that comes into Pike County from our retired teachers fund each year. So we as a body salute all of our teachers, and especially those who have retired. Again, we're going to talk about the delinquent tax sales, which are scheduled for October 23rd, which means that we have until October 22nd to come in and make sure that your delinquent tax bills are paid in the county. We have more interest this year from in-state and out-of-state buyers of our tax tickets, and as everybody's aware, they add a large amount of interest And Mr. County Attorney, I'm going to call on you, since your office has been the one that's continuously for the past few years talking about our delinquent tax sales. Mr. County Attorney.
Thank you, Judge Rutherford. One of the great duties or obligations my office has in politically popular positions is to sell people's property out from under them. That's our office is charged with that duty of collecting the property taxes. Everybody wants to see the property taxes collected, especially those of you that have stretched and made sure that their own property taxes are paid. For several different reasons, people get behind on their property taxes. Some of the property is just like our blighted property. It's been abandoned for a long period of time. On those situations, it's kind of a blessing that somebody comes in and buys it, gathers up all the owners, which can be over 100 owners. Those of you that have had heirship property in your families know what I'm talking about. It gets subdivided several times over. For those situations, it's not a disaster because, in fact, it can be good. But for the people that are wanting to live on their property and like their home, the good part is, try to look at the bright side of everything. Somebody wants your property. The good part about that is means you've got something that's of value that you're sitting on and that you own. Go to your banker. They like loaning money on real property. And if you owe for your property, let your banker know, because they don't want someone buying a tax lien out and getting in front of them either. If you're about to go, even if you're thinking that you're going to be looking at bankruptcy, in which unfortunately, a lot of our citizens are having some tough times. No matter what your financial situation, it would benefit you to address this issue. Even if you think you're going to lose your home, the banker will still want you to contact them so that they can pay off the delinquent taxes. There's no sense sending the money to another state. So no matter what your situation, and if you don't owe for your house, it might be a good time to borrow because the bank interest rate's under 5% for most cases. Give you an example. If you owe a $500 tax bill and you pay it late, you may end up owing. If you pay it a year late, you'll probably end up owing $1,000. If you pay it a couple years late, you'll probably end up owing $2,000 or $3,000. This law's always been in effect where a third-party purchaser could buy your tax ticket, but the legislature, not to pick on the legislature, but they've made it more attractive, and the limits have been removed. They can make a lot of money buying your tax ticket and putting your property up for sale. You still will have a chance to buy it back. But just like anything else, it makes credit card interest look good. So those of you who've been in the credit card trap before, those of you looking by TV should know. But in any event, this all takes place October 23rd. If your banker doesn't want to work with you, my office will. 606-437-3858. Gloria Johns, who's been in the tax division now for over 20 years, and Tawny Keene, who is a newcomer to our tax division. Those two ladies would be glad to work with you and work out a payment in our office, and we can actually keep the third-party purchaser. We can actually pull your tax ticket away from the sale if you'll simply contact our office. We'd prefer you pay it, but if you can't, we'll be your banker and lay you out a payment schedule down the road for the foreseeable future. We're not going to do a 30-year one like your bank will, but we at least could stretch it out for an extended period of time for you to get it paid. The bottom line is take a proactive step, because my sister got one bought out from under and had to pay it. There's none of us exempt from it, so make sure that you mark your calendar. I tell everybody jokingly, this is the last quarter of the year. You've got two things you need to do between now and the end of the year. One, take care of Christmas, and two, take care of your tax bill. Those two things. Everything else will come extra. So, Judge, I appreciate you letting us speak up. We've done it more this year than ever because there's always some horror stories out there that we want to avoid.
Thank you, Mr. County Attorney.
Thank you.
Nightmare on Main Street, Tuesday, October 23rd, 6 to 8, Expo Center. That is the one that was been held at the YMCA for many years. It had thousands of people. Due to the parking situation and the danger on the boulevard and up to the Y up on the hill, that was moved to Nightmare on Main Street, 6 to 8. Trick or treat is set by the Pike County Fiscal Court, Pikeville City Commission, the governing body of Elkhorn City, and the governing body at Coal Run, and that's on Tuesday, October the 30th, 6 to 8 p.m. This year, our cleanup month is October. I see Jimmy Dale in the back, Jimmy Dale Sanders in the back. Jimmy Dale is our Pride Director for the Pike County Solid Waste Department. But we have a Pride Board, and that board is a component of not only cleanup but education, in a partnership with the Pike County Board of Education, and we thank the Superintendent, Mr. Wagner, and the board for their cooperation with our Pride Board. We also have corporate partnerships with TICO, AT&T, Coca-Cola, and many others are recognized, and I don't want to leave anybody out, Jimmy Dale, but this is Pride Month, and they're working with our road departments, with each magisterial district, to keep our records, and the road commissioner, Mr. Hatcher, of course, works with them, and I think he attended the last meeting to get ready before the cleanup going on this month, so that the proper records to be kept. Pike County, due to this cleanup, it's an annual thing, and we have two in Pike County. One is Clean Up, Paint Up, Fix Us, which is in the spring when the weather opens up and people can clean their property up, can dress their yards up, dress their fences up, dress their houses up, and that is done in the spring. And then we have this one in the fall. So what an opportunity it is, again, to clean this county up. The Pike County Fiscal Court, we're doing our part. We're cleaning up all the county property as we move around the county that the county has ownership and control of. Your road lots, I've got compliment after compliment of the road lots at every magisterial district in the county. And if you pass those lots today, if you're in Peter Creek and pass the new one over in Peter Creek, and if you go behind the courthouse, what that they have done, what Chris Harris and his crew has done over there, then you go to Marbone and you go up Shelby Creek and you look at that lot, what's happened up Shelby Creek. We've done our part in cleaning the county property up to enhance, again, the people we have had thousands of visitors into this county since the Hatfield-McCoy was run on national television. That frenzy has not lessened. They are still coming in to see this courtroom, which the trials was held in. That's been authenticated recently. This courtroom that we're in today was where the trials were held. This is the old 1887 courthouse, still intact, built around as the years went by and construction added on to. Matter of fact, in the county court clerk's office, across the hall from the main clerk's office, you can see the back part of the original building. It's there for you to go by and look at if you want to do that. But to do that, we've got to have our blighted housing program. We've got to have this cleanup program. Pike County has been very successful. Jimmy Dale and others, and myself sometimes, is able to go accept awards that we've received from Pride, which Pride we know was a Hal Rogers ideal and his dream to clean eastern Kentucky up and to get the straight pipes out is one of the main goals they had along with this. But we've either been first or second for the last 6 years in regard to the number of bags. And Hillman Dotson, one year that we won that was the time that we cleaned up a hollow, that your road crew cleaned up a hollow over in your district. And I think there was 35 loads hauled out of there to our landfill that day. So the county is cleaner today. We got a lot to do. This educational program that our Pride Committee's got is certainly a great, great addition. And I said the Pike County Board of Education, we certainly appreciate their cooperation. We have now the Great Eastern Trail. We have spent a lot of time, and the map is on the Great Eastern Trail from New York to Alabama. And we ended up getting this trail to come through Pike County, Kentucky. They had a meeting in Richmond, Virginia, and it was not touching Pike County. And we had Mr. Hopkins at the local health department, was a member of that board, Jared Hunt, who's in the audience today, they got them to set their next meeting up at the Breaks Interstate Park following year. They convinced them that Pike County ought to be a part of the Great Eastern Trail. That was the fact that the board of the Breaks Interstate Park, of course, certainly wanted Kentucky involved in it because that is an interstate park. So we have been working tirelessly trying to get this trail where it enters into Pike County. I don't know where you got a county map that's available. We have those that we can furnish you. But we're having to deal with multiple land holding companies who are based outside of Kentucky. Now, they have offices in Kentucky. We've had meetings with them. They understand what we want to do. We're not at liberty today to talk about those negotiations because we are in the serious negotiations with them. We have contacted the Corps of Engineers about the use of the property they control in Pike County for a portion of that walking trail. So in regard to the Great Eastern Trail, I think that will be a great addition to us when it comes to tourism in the future, and it's certainly as we look at tourism as economic development. So the Great Eastern Trail. ATV trails, we again have to depend on, and we have worked tirelessly, waiting for the Kentucky legislature to take action in regard to ATV trail in eastern trails in eastern Kentucky. We go back to the Fletcher administration, of which Magistrate Harris was a member of the Skyland Trail Board, and they helped meeting after meeting and spent time at the Ad District trying to get the Skyland Trail started, and that Skyland Trail ran from Peter Creek, Pond Creek, and then on northwest and on down through Kentucky. Fletcher administration left, and they had a new administration in, and then they shelved that plan and came back with a plan to put a trail leading from the Hatfield and McCoy Trail to meet up with a trail at Knott County and Letcher County line in the head of Longford. Then we had the economic situation in the country. The state had to cut back, and then the state said we got no money to pursue this. The legislature was given proposals that passed the House of Representatives twice in 4 years. The vote was 99 to nothing. But both times it got in the Senate, Senator Williams would not call it up, as he wouldn't call most bills up in the Senate, and we never got a vote on it. The county judge executives, with the cooperation of the Area Development District directors in the Kentucky River District and the Big Sandy District, Mr. Ward and Mrs. Runyon, and we held a meeting in Prestonsburg at the ad office and made the decision that we would pursue it. Each county would pursue ATV trails on their own. A lot of people didn't know that the Hatfield-McCoy Trail was not a trail that was connected. Each one of their trailheads only goes on the property at that trailhead, and then you move on to the next one. Now, that's how all of them are that exist in eastern Kentucky and on the Hatfield and McCoy Trail. People like to go from each trailhead to trailhead. So then the second meeting was held at a state meeting in Louisville, Kentucky, where that the county judge executives and others brought in the state planners. The state says we have no money, but we have a lot of marketing money. So then we look at the marketing side and say, well, that Pike County, Kentucky could be the only one in the Commonwealth that could advertise a trail ride in Virginia and West Virginia and Kentucky in 3 states. So then we brought 2 of the people in that started the Hatfield-McCoy Trail in West Virginia. We held a meeting, a well-attended meeting in the conference room, and we heard advice from them of how to start to get these individual locations. Then we moved on to people who owns the property, and that's these out-of-state holding companies. We have confidential understanding with them that we won't talk about their relationship to us in regard to till they make their decision on whether or not. We do have one of these land holding companies that says we have a few thousand acres in 2 locations that we are going to consider to let you have. We are under pressure till the last day of December, I think, Ms. James. I think we have an extension on money. We are different than most of the counties. We have some old money that was here, that was held for the Skyland Trail program, and we have another grant, which is a dollar per dollar grant of $100,000, which we have. That money is in escrow and can be drawn down on these projects. We have an extension on this money until December 31. So we have to show some action by December, and we have done that by our meetings we've held with the land holding companies and by the fact that we have already asked the Corps of Engineers permission to use their property for the Great Eastern Trail. But we realize that on federal property you can't have a motorized vehicle. Then we have worked on the Pine Mountain Trail, which is a walking trail, which is in from Elkhorn City runs to Kingdom Comes Park and then goes south. It is the only linear park on this hemisphere other than the one in Peru, but it starts at Elkhorn City. All of the property, according to Shad Baker, who is the president of the association that operates the trail, that it is already controlled by the organization for that public trail, and it is already in, and it has a trailhead at Elkhorn City. We have participated as a county, Mr. Murphy, in providing them already with some carpenter work and work that they needed to give directions on that trail. So we are continues to work on our ATV trails. That is one thing that Magistrate Dotson and Magistrate Harris and this court has pushed from the day that I got here, and due to the inaction of the legislature and the national economic situation, we have been held back in Kentucky. The lead advisor we have has been Judge Thompson from Knott County, that has one of the largest in Central Appalachia now of the ATV rides and a horse trail ride, which is in Knott County. He has been one of the people that has attended every meeting that we've had, gave his advice on how to go. He don't consider any other trailhead for ATV or a horse trailhead as competition to anything that they're doing in Knott County. We in Pike County are working, and Mr. Carlton and I attended a meeting last month in Lexington again in an effort to acquire the property on top of the hill that the county has worked on for some time for a location for a campground and a trailhead for the horse ride that's in the head of Lick Creek twice a year. We have that trail, most beautiful area in the county, attended every year by about 200, anywhere from 80 to 200 people on their horses. That has been a great success. Everybody that's taken that trail said it's the most beautiful area. It is the longest trail in Kentucky that's intact today. And we can't advertise it anymore because we can't handle it, Mr. Murphy, because our trailhead presently is at the crossing the county park in the head of Lick Creek, and there's no parking. There's no way to get any more in, so there's not a lot of advertisement that goes out in regard to our horse ride each year. We're hopeful in the future to expand that. So that is the update on the Great Eastern Trail and the ATV trails while we were talking about the Great Eastern Trail, and also the fact that we are blessed in this county to have a interstate park, one or two in the United States, the Breaks Interstate Park, Kentucky, Virginia, and to have 2 state parks. One being what I talked about, the Pine Mountain Trail State Park, a linear park that comes from Elkhorn City and ends up down to Tennessee border. And of course, we have the Fish Trap Park, which this fiscal court has leased from the Commonwealth of Kentucky, because the Commonwealth of Kentucky has never put in their park plans, and we attempt every session of the legislature to try to pressure them or get some legislation to cause some type of development. Then we hear what we've heard for years, that it's the access road for development or not. Well, hopefully, Mr. Murphy, that we're to the point, and today on our agenda, we have to ask for a bid on building a road into that area of the Fish Trap Reservoir. That's on the agenda today. And hopefully that by getting a bid on that road, as we're aware, we got the governor of the Commonwealth, not the federal government, who isolated these people into that area, and to have these folks a way to get out and to make property available for development at that state park, which is presently leased by the county. And the county spent a vast amount of coal severance tax in developing what's developed up there, with a camping area, RV park, and with shelters, picnic shelters, with bathroom facilities. That's been paid for by the coal that's been mined by the miners throughout Pike County. So we have a plan in regard to economic development of the county, and the horse trails, ATV trails, and the cleanup of this county is part of the total plan that this court has in place, and of course the development of our parks. So we are glad that we can do that today and have that information available. We will now get to the public comment sections, and we only have, was it one person signed in? So the name, Jeannie, if you'll give it to me, was Chris Coleman. If you'll come around, he signed in. We all know Chris. Brandon, I asked you to send Chris and them a copy of what we had located over here since Hatfield and McCoy, and to make sure that they had. And Hillman, you can introduce
Judge, while you were talking a while ago about the trails and things, I got a call yesterday afternoon from Frankfort from a lady by the name of Elaine Wilson, and she's with the Adventure Tourism. And Chris had made contact with her on the internet about our trail systems, and she'd called me back and was informing me what they do, and I'll let Chris talk a little bit, and then I'll.
Okay, we have appointment. She called, the secretary called, Mrs. Sparrow. We have an appointment next month at the Break Center State Park with the secretary and the Parks Commissioner, who is, of course, under the secretary. And at that meeting, and not only be us, Hillman, you are invited, but we are invited also the delegate from the state of Virginia, Mr. Moorfield, and the state senator from the state of Virginia, which is Philip Puckett, and Senator Jones, Leslie Combs, state representative, W. Keith Hall, are also invited to discuss tourism related to Break Center State Park and other tourism in Pike County. So Elaine Wilson will be here with her boss, and we'll have an opportunity to talk to her about it. Mrs. Sparrow has informed us they have no money for trails, but they have plenty of money for marketing. So go right ahead, Mr. Dawson.
Chris, if you want to, you can go ahead. Last court meeting, Judge, I informed the court that I was going to try to make a motion to get our communities trail friendly with our trail system and try to get a place at each community to where the trails will come off and they'll be able to get food and gas and water and whatever they need for their trip that day. And we had a trailhead scheduled to be built some time back, and we'd spent probably around $100,000 having our trail systems mapped and marked out. And the guy that went with Summit, Carl Kahn, he's here today, sitting up here in front, and he's the one that was instrumental in getting all the trails marked and mapped by Summit, which we had to pay them to do that job. That came out of the money that we had from our trail systems. And we have our constable here today too. He's real interested in the trails, and we have some people that are from the area representing the four-wheelers, and Chris is going to do the speaking for him. Chris is on the internet with these people, and he's got a lot of things going with our Hatfield-McCoy tourism, and he's really interested in the trail system. And I asked him, did he want to come over and speak some today to the court, and he's here, and I appreciate, Chris, you taking the time off from your job and busy schedule to come over.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to say, as far as tourism goes, that we appreciate everything that the court has done, the county has done to promote the Hatfield-McCoy feud sites and the tourism, and the people in the community appreciates it. They appreciate seeing the people come from out of town, and all that the court has done to try to promote the trail systems, the horse trails, and other tourism venues that was good for the area. As far as the trail system goes and the ATVs, in the communities, there's still a lot of support for that. I guess I don't really know all the workings as far as the government, what the government has to do and how all of that would function, but the community is energized by the visitors, and we want to try to see anything that we can get going as far as that goes. We would like to see, like if at the very least, if there's some kind of ordinance or if there's some kind of resolution or something that can be done at a local level to allow the local people to be able to have access to the roads, as far as like if you're on one mountaintop and you're going to the other mountaintop and you have to come out a holler, you have to travel a mile up the road, it really don't make a lot of sense to load your four-wheeler up in the back of a truck, haul it 1 mile to go up another road. And there's been a lot of issue for the local people as far as maybe having their four-wheelers towed or something like that. So that would be an issue that we'd have to look at too as far as trails goes. In looking at one of the maps, and I don't know exactly on the who done the maps, but I looked at one of the maps from years ago, and going from the stopover area on one of the proposed maps that they done that would come out over near the pawpaw tree incident, you can count almost 20-some points of interest that people would be able to come off to for the feud, and which would be a good attraction for the folks if we can get the trail system going and win, But again, we want to thank the court for what they've done for tourism issues for the Hatfield-McCoy, and we're continuing to work. And the folks at Phelps are really excited about the Frank Phillips Cemetery and what the court's been able to do. And the kiosk we got up there now, we've got people being able to come up and sign with that. And I think in the last 2 weeks, we've had people from Connecticut, North Dakota, Montana, just different places that we can log now and actually say these people has been here. So we know we've been getting people up there, but we just didn't know who we was getting, and now we can actually say who we're getting. So the folks wants to come in, but they want to know as far as over there what there is to do, and there's really not a whole lot to tell them that there is to do. So that's one of the reasons why we're so anxious to try to push something like that. But we appreciate everybody for what they're doing, and Brandon, I appreciate the National Register, because that is important to us, and of course it is important to everybody for all the sites. Thank you.
Chris, we certainly, all of you people that are interested in this, but You're all the ones that helped make it happen. We can only provide the leadership, but we have to have the support of the people out there. And I think on this issue, as it goes forward, as Magistrate Dotson has said, that we will have support of the people, and this will be part of our economic development plan. Magistrate Dotson.
Judge, talking to Elaine yesterday afternoon, she said that Elkhorn City already has an ordinance to give the four-wheelers permission to come down in town and ride their four-wheelers. And she said Tim Belcher, which is the attorney up there, I guess he might have been the one that drafted the ordinance up. And
we contacted, our county attorney's office contacted the Elkhorn City people when we had when the state changed and was going to the Letcher County line. The only place we could find without crossing the 4-lane, we had to go through Elkhorn City and had to use their street. And then they cooperated and passed the ordinance. Pikeville has one that says no, an ordinance that says no four-wheelers, and I understand in the city of Pikeville. That's my understanding. But Mr. County Attorney, at the last meeting, Magistrate Dotson raised this question, and Mr. Case was going to do some research because there may be some legislation that would have to be passed by the next meeting of Kentucky General Assembly in regard to the use of state roads. Mr. Case and John Doug Hayes at that time said there was a limit on how far you could go on a state road on an ATV vehicle, was their understanding.
Two-tenths of a mile is my understanding to allow people to cross.
Across the road. What has to change, as these folks are talking about, is a place like Peter Creek where we've run into, we have the largest county and 1,200 miles of roads. So we have more of a problem of transgressing our roadways, crossing our roadways, and then keeping them safe than any other county. So possibility that we will need legislation passed by the Kentucky General Assembly to allow a four-wheeler with certain added additions such as tail lights, seat belts, whatever required by state law or state regulation, that they can use a road because they are a portion of the road in Peter Creek where we had looked at a trailhead site to be built across from Hatfield-McCoy Park, that there was restrictions that we found in dealing with the property owner, which again was an out-of-state corporation, that their property said you couldn't use it for that type of vehicle. Bicycle and walking, probably appropriate if they would let you use their right-of-way. That put us only over on a state road. So that's happening to us as we attempt to put this plan together, have these meetings, but it's got to be resolved. If we can resolve any of it with a county ordinance, Mr. County Attorney, you know that your office has graciously done the research and provided us that information. And then if we need legislation, we need to know that, and I think that Mr. Case will get back to us in future meetings as soon as your research is completed to see what type of state legislation we need to change the Kentucky Revised Statute.
Judge, I know the county attorney sees this each day probably. He gets citations that he has to go over where the state police are citing four-wheelers for being on right-of-way. It belongs to the state or county, either one. And these people, just like the county attorney said, are under the impression that they're allowed to ride 2/10 of a mile. So, you know, who's to determine how many tenths they'd rode before they got pulled over? And I know it's a hard case for him to try to rule on, but to be a friendly trail for each little community, we're going to have to get, like you just said, we're going to have to get some kind of a legislators to decide what we can and can't do. And I think right now is the appropriate time to get this together so they'll be ready to go in the new session and maybe get some of this changed. But if we're going to be a tourist county and we're going to promote tourism and we're going to have our friendly community places where people can come off, then we need to determine if we got to do it by each little town or each little city or each community or what. But I do know that me and Chris attended all the meetings they had down there on the Skyward Trails, and that was when they were trying to pass some law, and it didn't pass. But we had several communities involved. But Matewan and Williamson, they have an ordinance that they are allowed to ride their four-wheelers in town, and you can go in Matewan and you might see 15 or 20 four-wheelers sitting at this restaurant eating dinner. And these people come from all over the place, spending money and promoting tourism. And I think we need to start doing some of this. And I'd like to make a motion to have some kind of a law drafted up to we could send to legislators and let them look at it and see. County Attorney, you think it's something that we could do?
I think we need to request the Legislative Research Commission, and that can be done by a senator or legislator, to draw up a pre-bill, and it can be filed even before the session. Mr. County Attorney, you might want to give us your data you have on your citations and so forth, too.
Yeah, Hillman's right. We do get quite a few of those. The police officers, believe it or not, stop people regularly and don't write them. Give them some advice and so forth, and then sometimes they give them advice. Sometimes they don't write them, and sometimes I've seen some written where maybe you should or shouldn't have. The trouble is when they do write them, they write 15 charges. Everything from not having a helmet, insurance, tags. They hit them pretty hard when they do write them. They don't just write operating ATV on a roadway or an improper roadway, so they do hit them pretty hard when they do. They use some common sense quite a bit. The trouble with four-wheelers is just like dogs. Some parts of the county, what would work on Lower Johns Creek may not necessarily work, like you say, at Coal Run Village in the town. So you've got all kinds of different areas, but the Legislative Research Commission, I was thinking the same thing. We're going to have to eventually just acknowledge that four-wheelers are an integral part of our culture and our community, and just like they did motorcycles. 30 years ago, motorcycles were prohibited so many places. They tried to discourage them, and eventually they became so much part of it. But the legislature does need to take another look. They've loosened the laws when they put that 0.2 of a mile in, because they recognize that people have to cross the road, and I think they're going to have to take another look and allow more, especially with the tourism opportunities and stuff. Just make sure people are riding safe. There's children sitting on handlebars sometimes. It's just like any other vehicle. Sometimes people, like pickups, sometimes people throw kids in the back of pickups and drive. That's okay on a country road, but you might not want to drive down the interstate or on 119 doing that. So I think the legislature and the Legislative Research Commission ought to find a way to allow four-wheelers practically everywhere in the county now.
Mr. County Attorney, I think that the motion that Mr. Dotson is making, that you need to authorize your office to work with the legislators to get the Legislative Research Commission to research it and to draw up a bill to be presented to the next legislature. Am I correct? Would that be your recommendation?
That'd
Yes.
be great. We'll do whatever it takes.
And Judge, I'd like to see if we could do, if like County Attorney said, we might have to do each little community individual. Like
We only
we
have
don't
three
want Coal Run
communities that can happen in, that's incorporated areas, and that is Coal Run, Pikeville, and Elkhorn City. Then if there are any county roads, of course, we know what we're going to do. We can take care of the county roads. We can do that by a county ordinance that their office prepares for us, and we can get that passed. Primarily, our problem now, I think, Mr. Carlton, is on state roads.
Judge, Carl Kahn was with us. He wanted to know if he could say a few words, and I guess we're still in public comments. And Carl, he does a lot of the, he leads people around, I guess you'd call a guide for people that comes in town, and
Be glad for you too. Come around to the podium, please. Yeah, I'll be glad for you too. But we got to remember we got to get a second for your motion and get a vote on it as soon as he finishes.
got a second.
Second by Magistrate Murphy, and we'll get the vote as soon as he finishes.
Yeah, my name's Carl Conn. I live over on Blackberry. I have friends comes in from Indiana, Connersville, Indiana. Sometimes there's 20 or 30 of them comes in. They bought a place over on Blackberry so they'd have a place to stay when they come. All right. When they come in, they have friends too that comes in from Freeport, Louisiana, North Carolina, and also South Carolina. This last time they come in, 2 guys come in from Colorado and 1 from Texas. And M3, they come over to Pikeville and got them a room in a motel. And they rode back and forth every evening and night and stayed the night in Pikeville then. And I had a bunch come in one time from Blacksburg, Virginia. And I got a friend on Blackberry over there, got a lot of property. They let them go up there and sit up and camp and stuff like that. They enjoyed themselves for a week. Now, when I take them a riding, I don't have a bit of trouble because people that I fool with, they don't drink, they ain't on drugs, or nothing like that. And I take them, I leave Blackberry, I go to Phelps. Sometimes I go to Pond Creek, over what's called Indian Head Rock, up Turney Holler, and come all the way back down and come off at Dinky Road. They call it Dinky Road, come back over through the hill there at the mountain there, going into Johns Creek and Phelps, turn back and come back into Blackberry then. And everybody I bring that I take with me, I take them through Freeburn. If I don't take them through Phelps, I take them to Freeburn. We end up over our stopover between Virginia line and Kentucky line at Bertha's Diner. You know where that's at. They eat dinner there. And then we go back on Virginia Energy. That coal company is real good to me. I call them before I get there. When I get almost to their job, I'll call the boss and tell him where I'm at and this and that, and he'll tell me what direction to go, where I won't be around no equipment work or nothing like that. Come back over in towards Glen Allen, then back down and back into Woodman then. And trips I take, it takes all day to do it. And everybody enjoys herself. And I don't have no trouble out of the law or nothing like that. They see me. They know that we're riding right. We ain't making no fool of ourselves. And they'll throw their hands up and tell me, be careful, go on. And we ain't on the road that much.
Mr. Dotson.
Thank you, Carl. And Carl is the one that went with Summit Engineering, and he knows all the trails over there, and he helped everybody get the maps drawn out. And Carl, we appreciate what you've done, and we hope in the future you'll be able to help us promote tourism. Thank you.
Yeah, we
I don't know whether
the
constable is here. I don't know if he's wanting to say anything or not, but I know he had a little run-in with his son here a while back up in Smith Fork on a four-wheeler. The state cop got him, and
yeah, we thank you for being here, Mr. Prater. Madam Clerk, we have a motion and a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson? Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dotson?
yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes. Next, we need approval to bid the Fish Trap Road projects. Summit Engineering, Magistrate Murphy. We've been meeting after meeting in Frankfurt. Charles and I was down week before last to another meeting. So hopefully, Magistrate Murphy, this will keep this moving forward. And that's right, the Corps of Engineers is going to have a figure and to know that the money's in place before they give their approval. So this is a step forward.
Do you think it's still be within budget and everything? That's what we're definitely hoping for.
I think the way that we left Frankfurt the last time, they're going to sign off on it. Corps of Engineers said if the state signs off, we won't have to build it to interstate standards, the road coming out of Fish Trap. That's what they wanted to begin with, that we can build it to park standard or the minimum state standard. So if that happens, we're in budget. So to have a motion to have a second, Magistrate Robinson. Roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson.
Judge, I just had a question. Is Summit, are they doing the bidding? Or,
Pardon me?
Who's actually letting the bids out? Are we doing it, or is Summit's going to do the bidding? Okay. Is that your understanding, Leo?
Surveying and all that stuff, yes, and meeting with the state and Corps engineers, yes.
Okay, so Frankie, you okay
Frank,
with
have
it?
you been involved with Summit yet? But make sure, Jeannie, that's a good question, Magistrate Anderson, that our office, that a decision is made of which way we go and work it out so that we don't have a holdup, that we can move on.
So they're actually going to be letting the bids? And
That's correct. And normally they prepare everything, but normally they bring it to you. So we don't want to get the cart before the horse. Good question, Magistrate Anderson.
Yes.
I'll vote yes.
Magistrate Johnson.
Yes.
Magistrate Murphy.
Yes.
Magistrate Robinson. Yes. Magistrate Dotson.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris.
Yes.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes. Next on the agenda, we have to authorize myself to enter into an agreement with the Department of Local Government on coal severance tax project and execute any documents necessary to facilitate project and any changes agreed to by the Pike County Fiscal Court and the legislators. So that means that if we that if there are any changes made in the priorities, that you authorize me to do it, but the court has to have knowledge of it. And I think you have knowledge of one, Magistrate Robinson, and that was number. Jeannie, do you have those numbers? Will give me the numbers only. Number 24 would be would still be on the list. 24. What is the other number? And 43. Those projects would be interchanged and have a motion from Magistrate Robinson. We have a second, Magistrate Murphy.
What are the projects? Judge, you know, we talked about this before, and I think Rhonda was you.
This resolution that I think I had given to the judge's office, this is for the coal severance projects that we just prioritized for the year 2012-2013. DLG informed me that the resolution they'd given us to pass for the prioritization, it didn't do to authorize the judge to execute any documents necessary to facilitate those projects.
Now that's the first
so we're
one.
doing a resolution to authorize him to do that. But then I think he's adding on that he wants to amend that priority list to change two projects on that list. But that has to be done by the vote of the fiscal court, not by me. I just authorize to sign the document.
But what we're voting on right now,
voting on both of them at the same time. But Magistrate Robinson wants to interchange number 24 with 43. And that's in his district. That's his project. He just flip-flopping project. Now, wait a minute. To do that under the state guidelines, I have to send a letter, so you have to authorize me to sign a letter. The state senator has to sign a letter, and the state legislators have to sign a letter, and I understand everything's agreed for that to happen. Now, we're not saying that where you interchange project, other won't be funded, but what you're doing is you're moving up one to make sure that it gets funded. And it is number 24.
What are the projects?
Pike.
I don't mind to say it's Pike County Pride.
No.
And that was a criticism that the court got, that we didn't
Pike.
put it up high enough. Pike Unite. Jenny, you're pointing to me looking at Pride. Pike Unite. It has
Night program is going up towards the front, and then something else is
Yeah,
going.
it goes up to 24.
We're just switching
Now, that
Lookout
don't
Fire
mean the other
Department,
project
which
won't
is the
be
exact
funded
same
if there enough
amount
money comes
for you,
in
not
Okay.
Pike.
during the
All right, I
year.
So it
understand what we're
doesn't
doing.
affect
And
anyone else's
it's
projects.
his district, and we said the magistrates had to make that call.
I understand. I just didn't know what was going on.
Understand.
I'm just trying to figure out what's going on.
Oh.
I'm not.
Okay.
Yeah.
You have
I
a
don't have-
motion and a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson? Yes. Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes, and that's the understanding that each one of them have to come back to the court if they're in it.
I know, Judge, a couple meetings ago, we had discussed this, and Roland was going to figure out, how we were going to do it. He's told me to get with Rhonda and get with Carl and April. The senior citizens was having some problems with their funding at the time, and they was needing to be moved up. And that's what we were trying to figure out, how we were going to do it. Also, Carl's not here today, so I don't know what's going on their budget. Is it still about the same?
I think so. It's my
Well, I guess
understanding.
we can talk about it at a later time.
We can, because actually, that wouldn't fund until a later quarter. So we can make that at the next court meeting when she's here.
And also, I'd like to explain to the public out there, Judge, that the legislators has got us into a bind. They have proposed more projects and allocated not enough money to fund the projects that's on the list. And now we're going to get to blame when somebody comes up short because they didn't get their money, and the money wasn't there to start with.
Let me tell you.
I think we need to explain that to the people.
Let me tell you the problem. The excess money in the state account for the history of coal severance tax since the 70s, when they looked at the books and balanced them, came back to the counties. This legislation took that money and put it into the pot. When the legislation came out of the House and went to the Senate, even Mr. Tanner, our lobbyist, as you know, Chris, we had to straighten him out. He didn't know that was even in that legislation. They wrote that in the last minute. They took our money, an excess of what was it, Jeannie? 1 million, 1.3 million was in that pot that was to be divided in the Cole County. We got 35% of that. That money, Magistrate Dodson, was not available to us when it went over to the Senate, and I told Senator Jones that, and he wasn't aware that was added to the House bill that had passed and come to the Senate, but it's what passed. They took our money that we had that we could take care of excess projects. If we wanted them, we could have taken care of them because that money was always there for us. But this time they put it in the total pot. And they took that money and put it in the total pot. Then when that happened again, as the magistrate said, they put too many projects in for the amount of money that they had on the projection of the income of coal severance tax and minerals tax. And then we've ended up with a lot of projects that's not going to be funded this year. And that is not this court's fault, as Magistrate Dodson said. It's too many projects that's been listed. And then under that act, as everybody aware, the severance tax, when I proposed the severance tax, we was to get it back. That $255 million, 35% of that each year would have come back to this county because we produce that much coal, that much natural gas. But that didn't happen. They gave us 4% for years. One governor took it all. We got it back, we get 12%. And that is a shame. They've stole the future. We mine the coal. Listen to this. 50% under that act, all these years, since the 70s, 50% off the top goes in the general fund of this state budget, to be spent in every county of this Commonwealth. It's like the fellow came here from the Office of Local Government, looked at Pike County in 1970 and said, "You're like a third world country. You're not developed." And yet we're rich in mineral. And yet look what's happened. They put billions, with a B, of severance tax money in the state budget and spend it in every county in this Commonwealth, and us here trying to develop to get sewer, water. And when I went before the legislature, I remember saying, the only thing I come here to ask you to do is to let us live the way you all live here, that you have good roads, a good sewer system, good water system, good educational system. That's all we want. And we are the Saudi Arabia of the United States with the amount of coal that we have in Pike County. But that's what the Magistrate Dotson was saying. It's not our fault when these come up. When this comes up, it's not our fault that some of these projects not going to be funded. It is definitely not our fault.
Well, Judge, if you can remember back a few years ago, we had a choice of what projects that we wanted to be on the list, and it was taken away from the court that authority that we had to designate where we wanted and what we wanted for our county. Right. And it went into the hands of the legislators back a few years ago. They passed a law where they would designate where the money is to be spent. Now the list is so big and not enough money, they ask us to prioritize that list. And I think if they're going to promote the list, then they should prioritize it, not send it back for us to prioritize and then take the blame for things that don't get funded.
The money ought to come back to the fiscal courts is where it ought to come back to, the way that it used to come back to the court. We made the basic decisions, and we did the prioritization, and we handled the money. But that hadn't happened in this Commonwealth.
And Judge, I might add too, in addition to what's already been said, I mean, there is no way that all those projects that were allocated in the state budget could be funded, even in a good year, coal severance wise. There wouldn't be enough money to fund all those projects. And in addition to that, I just saw last week, I believe, where the coal severance receipts for the state were down about 25% over what they were last year. So in addition to having more projects than what we can fund, the amount of money that we're going to have allocated to our county for coal severance is going to be greatly reduced, and that's not only going to affect those projects, that's going to directly affect our budget.
Ms. James, are we close to getting the figure on this past quarter?
We've been told possibly this week.
Okay. We'll let the magistrates know as soon as we get that. Make sure they're emailed or faxed to their offices of where we stand with the treasurer and finance director and myself. We're just hopeful that we have what would be the word you used? Lowballed it low enough to make sure we're in good shape.
I read that. I believe it was in the Lexington. I believe it was the Lexington Herald Leader.
That was down 19%.
19%.
Total statewide.
I spoke with Kim Tompkins in Frankfort on Friday, and she said the number is down from last quarter of 2011. But for the quarter we got in June 30th, 2012, the number is the same. So she expects our coal severance to be in line with what we got in July. Crittenden County dropped out, so therefore that would help maybe bump us up a little bit.
So we're in good shape as far as our predictions on our budget, even though we got our cuts in place.
But it's down. It's down from last year.
It's down the 19% from last year at this time. And that doesn't include mineral. She has no idea yet what the mineral. If it stays at the amount we got in July, then we've got some problems.
Next on the agenda is we have a vacancy on the golf board. We got an email that Steve Williamson had resigned. And as you're aware that we have on the Mountain Pub Links, we have a relationship with the University of Pikeville. And we was Mr. Sykes, who's the chairman, and Mr. Patton, who had been assistant in the business plan for the golf course. And that, again, is part of our economic development package, is a county golf course, a public golf course that people can play. But we got an email and from Mr. Williamson, Steve Williamson, who was a member of that board, and he said, "Will accept by this email as my letter of resignation to the Board of Mountain Public Leagues." So Kevin Austin, who gave a Pikeville address to Jeannie, is the golf coach at the University of Pike. He's also the Lonnie Osborne top assistant, as we know, in the PVA office. But what we were trying to do is get UPike more involved into the operations of our golf course, and they was going to work some of their scholarship students over there, especially those who have scholarships in golf, to help take care of the golf course, to help cut the weeds or do whatever needs to be done. So that we'll need a motion to replace Mr. Williamson. My recommendation, and I will take the recommendation of the board chairman, and my recommendation is that Kevin Austin be appointed to replace Mr. Williamson.
I'll second that motion, Judge.
You have a motion and a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes. Next, we have to council to see about our court meeting next time. I think it ends on election day, Jeannie. That it comes on election day, and the court's going to have to make a decision. I think that decision needs to be made in regard to a schedule that we have in regard to the Perfection Company, which was supposed to give a presentation to us and a recommendation on getting utility savings for the county and bringing this county up to new technology and every bit of the equipment in this courthouse, the Belfry Courthouse, Phelps Courthouse, other county buildings. Jeannie, what do you know more than I know about this situation?
Okay, we've looked at maybe rescheduling the meeting for Wednesday the 7th or Thursday the 8th, afternoon, day, morning, whatever's convenient for everyone. I think Frankie can speak to the urgency of having this meeting because Perfection Group will be here on the 20th. Is that correct, Frankie?
We have told the Perfection Group that we, the court, had to have their information in time to take a good hard look at it so that a decision could be made to whether or not we wanted to bond with CAECO and to borrow money, and it was, if I remember, it was over $7 million to be paid off in utility costs in this county. And now that has gone to an emergency situation for us locally, because we lost the hot water heater night before last that serves part of the jail. Plus, Bobby, we had lost the air in the courthouse from that unit that's supposed to be replaced under Amoresco's and this group. That equipment that has to be replaced was put in 1988. This other equipment that was put in approximately more than 6 years ago. The county attorney agreed with our lay. We're not attorneys, but he agreed yesterday when he read the warranty that we had no warranty, and we asked him to review it after all of us, the jailer, myself, the finance director, and everybody had read, Jeannie had read it. So we have no warranty. So the urgency of this, and we're trying to get this meeting set up so that we'd have time for the Perfection Group to get us their information that we asked for before we brought it up to court for a vote. That cost of that unit over there would be around $70,000. So I mean projected cost, but that was to be taken care of by the Perfection Group. So also the chillers was to be replaced by the projection group. So Perfection Group. So we need first to decide that we need to get the boiler. When I say boiler, it is the hot water tank. That unit is $25,000. Am I correct, Jeannie?
That's just for rent
That's for
installation.
renting a unit to get the
and
water back
inspection
on
by the state.
tomorrow. Now, for us not to be liable to pay that $25,000, then we need to look at an alternative where that we could work a deal with the company that would possibly, and I say possibly again, it's up to this court of whether or not we accept the Perfection Group for this savings in a, what was the years on that? They have it 15 years? Who remembers what they talked about here? Was it 15 years? They talked about 15
Yeah,
years.
It can be 15.
Whether we
I think it's
have
around
to pay
15
these
years.
off.
I just hate to see us go in debt more than what we're going. You know, we're getting this county in.
There's no debt
Too bad.
to that.
Somebody gonna have to pay for it, though, judges, sooner or later. And I know that sounds like a lot of money for a heater, a hot water heater. And we have our maintenance man here, Terry Rogers. Terry, this new modern ways that we have about heating water, I know you can buy them now that plug in and you have instant hot water. Is anything we could come up with that would be a solution and it'd be cheaper than what we're talking
Mr.
about?
Rogers, if you're going to answer him, move over to the microphone so you can be heard. We're on Pike TV. Also, this is 350 inmates. 350 inmates at the jail have to have hot water. Now that is the answer. We have got to be very careful of whether or not we don't obligate this for that $70,000 of this unit coming in from this group, because we've not signed anything with them and they've not given us the information. This group is supposedly telling us that it won't cost us one penny, not one dime to the taxpayer. No, they will put a bond up. Now, the Amoresco group that came here and made this presentation, I wasn't for, and not a member of this court was for. When Magistrate Harris asked them, who's responsible if what you've told us don't work? And they looked and said, you all. Well, we closed up our books, closed the court meeting, and went home and had the Amoresco. Now you're getting up with the same equipment, all these years later, 1988 equipment, and it's going out. Not only did the hot water heater go out for 350 inmates, also the 1988 air conditioning unit for this building went out. And they don't even make the parts for them anymore. Not even on the wall that they got where you go in and adjust your heat. Those are not sold in this country anymore. Everything we have, those blinds back there are closed because all those windows are smoked, which means they have air between the two units and air can come into this building. There are 144 of those in this building. Belfry Courthouse, 7 different units on top. And they want one unit over there to save this money. Every light, not light fixtures will be changed, all the electrical part will be changed on every light in the county building. They have to convince us as a body that it won't cost the taxpayers one penny and that they will put up a bond every while they do it, Mr. County Attorney. Your assistant has done a great job in questioning them when they was here in regard to what they would do. So what we've got to do today is get the hot water back on, and then we got to decide what brought this up. But we're trying to set a court meeting in time for that group to give us the information so we could look at it. And then us make a decision and set the court meeting in time so that we can get this behind us and not have this problem. Terry, what they had recommended that they're going to have 2 units over there in the past and we'll never have to face this again. They're going to have 2 units. They was going to fix this unit they got, put the other unit in, would never have this again under what they proposed. We don't know yet whether we're going to accept what they propose. they're going to have to come and convince our county attorney's office that how they put the money in escrow or a bond, that they are held liable for any money that they say that this county would have to pay for this in a 15-year period. According to them, there's going to be excess money every year that comes in, and then we could pay that down within 10 to 12 years, that there are going to be that much savings in what that company is going to do for it. We do know that Pikeville College took this. There'll be somebody here, I hope, from the college to tell us how theirs worked. I got from the newspaper, and I will provide that, for Fayette County had saved $600,000 a year, Fayette County, West Virginia, for the same program per year for their school system, savings on their utility account. So we have that. We have a letter that I'll supply you all from Judge Primmel from Christian County, a county about the size and land area of this county, and a little more population than we got, that they put this program in and said it's great and saving this money and not cost them one penny. So we do have that information for you, but they got to convince us. But what we have got to do is get some hot water to 350 prisoners or that we have incarcerated in the Pike County Jail. And we can't wait to get that done. And we don't have, our budget is as tight as a banjo string. I mean, there's no place we can go come up with $70,000 or even $25,000.
Judge, I just can't believe it would cost that much for a water heater.
No, it's a water heater for 350 prisoners. And it runs 24 hours a day. 24 hours a day. Here's your maintenance engineer for the county. He can tell you the problems that they've had, even with the present system.
Judge and magistrates, if you remember, I brought this problem up several times before, that we needed a backup unit in the jail for this purpose only. Now, we're not only facing a hot water heater out, we're facing a boiler it's on its last leg, and that's about $80,000.
It heats the jail?
This is at the jail.
Okay.
This water heater we put in about 7 years ago when we put that new jail had been a problem from day one. We've done nothing but work on it. You can ask finance. And now it's shot. It's scrap. To replace this, we're looking at options. If you're going to look at this Perfection Group, we let Perfection Group do it. That's part of their deal. If you're not going to look at Perfection, then we're going to have to go out on a limb and find the money for about $35,000 to replace that unit. And it's not, we don't have a week to do it in. We've been down 3 days already. Somebody's got to make a decision.
How soon could they react and get another one in here?
Well, yesterday I got on the phone with them. They can have a rental unit here today. That's $25,000. That $25,000 we could put on a new one.
That's 25.
I don't see any sense in that. $25,000.
It's not recouped. You can't get it back. It's
you
just
can't get it back.
25,
That's
just
gone.
to rent one.
I told you we're $70,000 now, $35,000.
Here's the deal.
Where's these numbers?
Now we can go out on a limb and buy it ourselves, and then if you go with this Perfection Group, that's just part we spent. That's not in their deal. They are going to put us 2 units in. It's a combined unit, about 100,000 BTU units that work together. We don't have to have this backup unit. We've got it. They work all the time. When one goes down, the other one takes over. If we're going to go out on a limb and put this unit in ourselves, we're looking at about, I think back in February, I had an estimate on one for about $32,000. I'm assuming about $35,000 now. We will put that in, and we're right back to square one. We don't have a backup system. If it goes down, we're right back at it again. We don't have hot water for the jail. This has been a problem over for the last 15 years. And if you remember, I've asked for it several times, but we always go right back to when it breaks down, we don't have hot water. And we have problems getting people in here to fix it. This thing's been down since Saturday. Perfection Group come in yesterday, looked at it and said, scrap it. It's gone. And I myself looked at it. It's gone.
Now, who's the perfectionist group you're talking about?
They're the ones who stood up here 3 weeks ago and presented a pretty good a deal with us on this utility bill.
That was a man, and I asked who was going to pay for that, and he said, "You guys are."
No, we don't.
He said it's nothing free.
They said we would not be out one penny.
Judge didn't we supposed to have to borrow the money from Keiko or somebody to pay for this?
We borrow the money, and supposedly the savings is supposed to help to pay the debt back.
I don't think your mic's on, Hilda. Yes, that's how the proposal works. That's up to the court. But they're not like Amoresco. If they're not right, they say they pay the difference. They pay the payment. The taxpayer won't pay.
If I understand, I think we paid them like $740,000 up front. But every year we're supposed to receive a lump sum of utility bills that would come in savings to pay that installment loan that we've been borrowing that money on over a period of, I think it was 20 years. Somebody said 15. That should pay for itself. And if I understand, other people, other counties, other places that use it are well satisfied with it. I don't know how it worked for us, but it seems to other people, they're tickled to death to have it.
Terry, it sounded good. I just wonder if our treasurer is going to be able to make the payments. You know, we're right now pretty strapped when we lose the rent from this building over here across the street next year. We're going to have some pretty good sized payments to make. And you know, that's what my concern is, Judge. Are we going to be able, with our budget woes, be able to make the payments on these loans?
One thing I would caution, too, is if we do end up going with a group, we make sure we get the funding from Keiko first, with knowing how our budget is getting strapped as to whether or not we would qualify through any banks and what the interest rate would be. We need to get the money in hand and in place first before we enter into a contract.
I understand
because it gets harder to get money borrowed. These last were refunding issues, which we already had the money budgeted to pay for them. To take on a new debt, we need to make sure that we are stable enough that somebody will lend us the money too.
I agree with that, and my information is Keiko's already approved this project.
And Terry, you know, we can't wait.
It goes through. Now the court has to be the one that makes the decision.
Here's the thing, Hillman.
We don't have no water and for the people to bathe, and we don't have no water to sanitize the kitchen dishes and things. You know, if we wait on this company and getting along, we're talking probably another.
That's reasonable.
But here's the thing: if there's no doubt, if you want to go with this perfection group, they will come in here, as a matter of fact, they'll put it on the truck now and ship it in there the next couple of days. We'll have hot water. Now, it's my understanding with them, if we allow them to put this $70,000 unit in, that's going to be a part of their deal, that we don't have to pay for it. Now, if we don't accept them, no, all we'll have to do, we'll have our hot water in, we'll just have to figure out how to pay for it. We'll have the backup system, we'll have one in. Now, to scrap all the options that Perfection Group is, we're going to have to find $35,000 from somewhere in the next day or so to put this in.
What about your other unit went out? How much is it?
There you go.
How much is it?
I don't have a cost on the unit downstairs on this chiller unit. We have a new compressor. We have a bottom part, but now the starters are out on it, and they're saying that's $7,000, $8,000, maybe $10,000 to fix those. That is part of Perfection Group. The boiler in the jail is part of Perfection Group. These things are going out because it's all obsolete, and we're going to have to start replacing a lot of it. So if these guys, if you have in mind maybe looking at Perfection Group, that's the way we need to go. Let them do it. But anyway, bottom line, we got to find some hot water for the jail. Somebody's going to have to in the next hour or so. We got to make some decisions on what to do.
Judge, I'll make that call if you'll let me make a recommendation here. We go ahead and fix what we got, and then work on this Perfection Group later on, because it's going to take
money.
It's going to take. Well, we have to find some money, or it's just send the prisoners down another county or somewhere.
The money has to come from the road department funds.
How come
That's
the
where
road
the most
department?
money is, and that's where it would have to be cut. Well, that's simple. I mean,
You can
that
borrow
may be
money,
being a little
Judge.
blunt.
If we're talking about borrowing $7 million to do this, we can borrow money to fix the. Yeah, I mean,
I don't.
if
Then you need to authorize to borrow the money to do it then.
right, I think the prudent thing to do would be to ask the judge to declare an emergency so we don't have to bid, which I think clearly this is an emergency situation. Ask the judge to declare an emergency and to take whatever steps are necessary to borrow the money to fix.
Is that a motion?
To fix, yeah, that'll be my motion, to fix
Okay.
the
And then we'll
jail's
deal
hot
with
water
them
problem.
later, as Magistrate Dotson.
Second.
And we got a motion to second, and then we'll deal with Perfection Group later.
Yeah, that was
We'll
my
have to
question.
do, let me ask you, what about the air conditioned unit that went out to this building? Does that
I probably
can
have.
You think it'll limp along till we get this?
Yes, it'll be
Okay,
fun.
So we only do the one then?
Okay, and it'll be single unit, not the backup. We'll do a single unit.
It'll be a single unit, probably
Treasurer,
costing
we'll
about
ask your
$35,000.
And seeing if, and the finance department to see if we can locate the money to borrow, to see what happens on this situation.
Terry, how much is this going to cost?
I think just putting a single unit in, like I said, back in February, I had a proposal of about $32,000. Now that was in February. You know, things go up. I'm just guessing about.
Who is that proposal from?
Well, Simcoe.
Okay.
There's only like a few groups around here that's certified to put boilers in. That's the problem with that one. You got to go out of state to find somebody that'll put a boiler in because of the capacity of people over there. We got to have certified people.
Terry, is
Terry.
that tank busted or is
It busted in the bottom, in the back of it.
The tank is busted.
Yeah, that's a one of those inline heaters.
We keep talking about a hot water heater. This is not a residential hot water heater.
It's commercial. It does about 650 gallons of hot water just in a few minutes.
Runs 24 hours a day.
Okay, Terry, let me make a suggestion. If you've already gotten one quote like a year or two ago, go back to that same vendor and let's go to Perfection Group and see what they can do it for.
And that's up to them to come back and tell us.
If they can get one, I mean, if they can get a dual for $70,000 in here in a couple of days, I would think.
Okay, now here's the thing with Perfection Group. If they only put one in, that doesn't save as much money as if they put two because they work together. That's where their savings comes in. I've already asked that question.
I'm sure they'll be willing to probably help us just as a vendor to get
$59,000,
one.
Jeannie, was on one unit, and then the coupling was $16,000 on the unit, and that was the one that heated the jail.
Now here's the thing. Perfection will come and put that in. If you don't want to deal with Perfection down the road, they've already got it in. We just got to figure out how to pay for it. They said we'll work with you later. You can pay for it later. But if they do happen to deal with you, that'll be a part of their group. It'll already be in.
Terry, you know, I think as a court, a member of it, that we need to get some quotes. You know, we just go out and buy one. We might save us some money from another company, you know, if we just check. And I know we're supposed to bid a project that size if it's not an emergency, and the judge is going to make an emergency.
Mr. County Attorney, this motion will authorize your office to draw up an emergency declaration, and that we will get that filed immediately, and then the treasurer and the finance director can start moving and finding the money to borrow. And we got to remember, going this route, that's our $25 bill. That's ours. That's not part of Perfection Group. We're going to go back and take a look at them, and they will do a different direction, but we will be paying the bill, as Jeannie said earlier, the way she understands it, that they won't be paying that bill.
Now, are we going to give Terry, are we going to vote to give him, I reckon, the authority to call these vendors and get whoever he thinks?
No.
Here's the thing, Jeff.
He's already done that.
If I've called them, they're gonna come down here tomorrow and they're gonna look at this and they'll say, "Well, I'll get back with you a day or so with a figure." We're gonna be without water for 4 or 5 days.
I understand. What I'm saying is, how many you mentioned you got a quote back in February, correct?
Yeah, just for a figure about what it's going to cost it to replace it.
Rogers, you got one that's ready to be shipped in here today?
I can get one. It's a similar one that they
That's
have, but
within the
it's a state-of-the-art
$25,000.
equipment. It's a canvas hot water heater. It come from out of Huntington, Simcoe, the same guys that put our chiller in.
What was the price on it?
30, I think in February it was like 32,000. So you can figure things have gone up. You're looking at an estimate of probably 35,000.
Terry, you said you had one ready to come today.
Couldn't get it today. I mean, I can get it on the road today.
And you don't know how much it's going to be?
I know in the ballpark figure of about 35,000. That's in. That's
Have a
installed.
motion and a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Yes. Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Ruth?
Yes.
Judge, we still have this 11-6 meeting hanging.
Jeannie, we've still got to set the meeting in regard to when
Okay,
Perfection
now-
Group comes to us.
Okay, Frankie, do we need to have the meeting now that we've got this out of the way and we've decided what we're going to do on this, or can we wait? Unless we need the meeting, can we just have one, the third Tuesday of the month?
Well, like back when I was asked to bid out this Perfection Group bid was back in September, so we laid out a schedule of when we can present the bid to the court. The bid opening is on November 2nd, but we knew that that court meeting fell on the 6th, which was election night, and it would probably be canceled. And we had tabled like the date of the 20th for the bid to be presented to the court. So if the court feels that we still need the urgency to move that, set a court meeting up to award that bid, then we can and make a special meeting. If not, then we could do it on the 20th.
Mr. Stacy, the important thing was to make sure the Perfection Group got us the information so this court could have time to go through their packet they prepared for us and understand it before the court meeting. And that's what you all was trying to accommodate.
That was because we had the boiler down, and now that that's resolved.
No, that don't change that don't need to change to make a decision on whether or not you
Initially
hire
had them
this group
scheduled
or
to be
not.
here on the 20th to present, and then we was going to vote on it at a later time.
If you'll give me the dates, either you or Mr. Stacy, then I will set the date and then let the court concur or talk about the date that I said. So if you give me the dates.
Wednesday the 7th, Thursday the 8th.
The court meeting will be canceled because of the election day, the first thing. Second day will be what's your date?
Wednesday the 7th or Thursday the 8th. And
Magistrate Harris, you look at your calendar.
Thursday the 8th, probably, Judge, would be the best.
What time do you? What time of day?
What time of day?
That's an evening meeting,
1:00?
so it'd be 6:30.
Just do it at 5:30.
Same time.
5:30.
5:30.
Same time.
Yeah.
Oh, what
Be fine. Okay, that'll be the next court meeting, which is set.
So it'll be the 8th at 5:30.
Yep.
Yes.
And Madam Clerk, that will be, of course, advertised, and it'll be a special meeting, and we have to get our agenda fixed in regard to that.
That's not AOC, is it? No, it's on the first. AOC is. Okie doke. We don't have somebody to make a motion in a second.
Don't need one, I said that, I think, because I tried to set it within.
Okay.
Next on the agenda is the awarding of bids, and we don't have any. Next is Mr. Anderson, Magistrate Road Work.
I'll make that motion.
Motion, Magistrate Anderson, have a second? Have a second. Magistrate Murphy, have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Ruth?
Yes. Next is magistrate comments. Magistrate Anderson.
Judge, I was going to ask Terry, are you feel pretty comfortable with the 35,000 limit, give or take?
Now, we're
Right.
not talking into the microphone and Pike TV's on. I might remind you.
Terry, the judge wants you to come to the mic.
If
You can come up to this one right here if you want to.
come up here and use one of these mics where Charles got up.
These places that I'm talking about, they're only limited, that can install these commercial boilers in public buildings. So Simcoe is one of them. Elliott Contracting is another one, but Elliott doesn't install boilers, they contract them out. So they have somebody else come in and do it, and you're just paying a middleman. I'm sorry about that, but anyway, that's the way it is. Perfection Group's another one. But Perfection Group wants to put it in with a backup, and the only way that they can meet their utility bills is putting two of them in and work them together. That's how they figure that
Amoresco,
out.
Mr. Rogers, said this was the biggest saver on the county's utility bill.
Those
was
two
that one
units
unit
alone, that hot water heater and that boiler over there, which provides the heat for the building, are the two savings that Perfection Group's counting on. Now, they want to come in and put that one in, that water heater in. If we don't deal with them, we pay for it later. But it's about $70,000. And you have the backup unit. The one that I'm going to bid today is a single unit that we go right back to where we have it again.
Terry, I
It's about
think
half
if
the
you,
price of what they had.
I say if you called them, they'd probably give you a single price. I mean, one on a single.
They Perfection probably will put a
Since we're
single
buying
in.
it straight out, I mean, you could check with them and see if they're interested.
Judge, ain't we
and go
done
with the
went
lowest
through
price.
this? We done went through this once or twice, Judge. I think we've done and voted on it and everything. I don't see why we got to argue about it.
I think we've already got a motion. It's
We've already got a
passed.
motion.
Move
Let's
on.
go ahead and do it.
I will call Perfection, see what they
Hey,
do on that.
thank you, Terry. Magistrate Anderson.
That's all I have, Judge.
Okay. Magistrate Johnson.
No, I ain't got any comments.
Nothing this time.
Magistrate Dotson.
Judge, I want to thank you and the legislator, Keith Hall, for last meeting we had. We talked about getting the road from Phelps to Pikeville. I noticed somebody told me it was in the paper Friday that they'd come up with $1 million to spend on that road.
They're going to take the curb out at Kellogg's.
That was already in the process, wasn't it? This is extra money.
It's extra money.
Yeah, I understand it.
Under the 6-year plan and under the 800 series. So putting that together, there's going to be some money spent on that road, vast amount of money. The highway department moves pretty slow, Master Dotson, as we know, and the way their process is. So hopefully that they can get this started so that they can get some relief on that dangerous road.
Now, Judge, I want to bring it up every court meeting until we get it done, or until Amir, you leave office. That way we'll keep it.
If I leave over there, I'll do that too.
We'll keep it going and keep the word going, and maybe they'll find us a little more money the next time that they go to Frankfurt, because we need it, and I think it's a well-needed project. But I just want to thank you for your...
I think we can get it on the front burner and keep it there.
And Judge, talking to Damus, we have a problem with the roof. I know we ain't got no money, but maybe we can get our employees to repair it or do something to it over at the post office at Majestic. It's a building that the county owns, and we've got a rubber roof. And Damus has shown me some pictures here, and I'll pass them around to you.
We do have a maintenance account, and I think that the finance director, you can work with her.
Damus, is it something we can repair in emergency with our employees till we can get time to pay to have it fixed?
We have patched what is leaking now, but it's not going to last. The way that roof is, it's not going to last very long. As far as that type of roof, we've never done that type of roof. It would probably...
Looks like it. I went up and looked at it. Looks like we could probably pull it back together some way and put some tar or something around the edges of it to hold it for a while.
That type of roof is glued down to the surface there, to the wood surface, and it's actually came loose.
To the cement?
It's stretched. Yes, it has stretched. It would have to be taken apart, cut there where it's at,
Put a piece in it.
And vulcanized back. Terry Rogers knows about this more than I do, actually. We had to do this over here to the Hall of Justice building here not too long ago. They had to actually redo it.
I remember that was a big expense, wasn't it, Terry?
Same roof, it's on the Hall of Justice building.
Yes.
And I noticed on the paper they're planting grass on this one over here at the new one they're building.
Yeah.
And it's going to be something, I guess, different. But we just need that looked at and taken care of, Judge.
Mr. Dotson and Mr. Ramey, as soon as Terry gets some of this stuff caught up, he really got in a bind the last 2 or 3 days. We'll send him over there with you, and he knows this roof type system.
Yeah.
And he can be of assistance to you.
Well, I talked to him about it, and he gave me the Holland Sons contract. And they give us a
Mr.
quote.
Dotson.
And Judge, the pool cover, Amos has given me a quote from one company. He's waiting on another one for a price. They told him they would get it to him tomorrow. The one we have now is $40-some hundred, wasn't it, Amos? So I'd like to make a motion, if we have the money in our recreational account, to give Damus permission to purchase a cover when he gets the prices that he thinks suitable.
Out of that grant money for
Mr. Stacy, will you handle getting the prices?
We had some
purchase.
grant.
Yeah.
Purchase office will be handling getting the prices, and you'll work with him in getting your prices.
Get that pool covered up for.
Motion is by Magistrate Dotson.
Second.
You have a second, and have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson? Magistrate Murphy? Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Harris?
Yes.
Judge Ruth?
Yes.
And Judge, I want to thank you. Finally, we got our cameras installed this week for our senior citizen center. Had 2 more cameras added, so that should take care of it, shouldn't it, Damus, on the surveillance over there?
Yes. That should give you a full view of the building and the concession stand.
So I wanted to bring that to your attention. We got that done. And Judge, I just want to thank all the people that are here today representing our cause, and I think it will be a start to what we can see grow. And I want to thank them for taking their time out and coming over today and supporting our need. And that's all I have right now, Judge.
Magistrate Harris.
Just one small thing. We're still raising money for the new couch at the Belfry Senior Citizen Center. So we've raised a little bit of money there at the courthouse, and they're got one picked out. And anybody that wants to contribute to that, the Belfry Senior Citizen Center. Thank you, Howard Keith Hall. Wants to contribute to that.
That worked.
Yeah, that's right. Let me know, or the girls at the Senior Citizen Center know it's a good cause, and it's much needed. That's all I have.
I turned 50 last month, as you remember. So I'm getting
Madam Treasurer.
Authorize any necessary transfers and interfund transfers to pay the bills, payroll, health, and life insurance.
Motion, a second. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson? Magistrate Murphy? Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Authorize payment of the expenditure approval list dated October 15th, 2012, and any other utility and telephone bills that are received before the checks are run.
Do I have a motion? Motion, Magistrate Robinson. Have a second, Magistrate Murphy. Have a roll call vote, please.
Magistrate Anderson?
Yes.
Magistrate Johnson? Magistrate Murphy? Magistrate Robinson? Magistrate Dodson?
Yes.
Magistrate Harris?
Abstain.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Pass over the next 2 items to the next court meeting. The county attorney, would you please have the second reading and adoption of the budget amendment number 2 for the fiscal year 2012-2013?
Mr. County Attorney.
Yes, second reading says an ordinance relating to the fiscal year 2012-2013 annual budget and amendment thereof. Whereas the Pike Fiscal Court has realized unbudgeted receipts from the following funds, be it ordained by the Pike County Fiscal Court of the Commonwealth of Kentucky from Section 1. The budget for fiscal year 12-13 is amended to increase the receipts of the road funds by $120,000 $600 to include unbudgeted receipts from, it says from the United States, I guess, the Department of Agriculture. Is that the NRCS? I guess that's Conservation Service. EWP, what's that, the watershed?
Emergency watershed protection.
120,600, and that would be a revenue, and then also, that's also an appropriation to the same fund. Section 2, the amounts adjusting the revenue and appropriation accounts in Section 1 are for governmental purposes. This approves at from the approval for the first reading on the second day of October 2012, signed by Judge Rutherford and the local finance officer. And then the final paragraph to be signed by the Honorable Wayne T. Rutherford says this budget ordinance amendment was duly adopted by this court. It's to be tendered to the judge upon approval by the court.
Thank you, Mr. County Attorney. You have a motion, have a second. Have a second, Mr. Johnson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson? Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Authorize a check in the amount of $43,200 to Summit Engineering for NRCS surveying work when the funds are received back from NRCS.
That pass-through funds, do I have a motion to approve? Have a motion, have a second. Have a second, Mr. Johnson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson? Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Authorize a check in the amount of $3,600 to Frank K. Nall, PSC, for NRCS closing documents on Jeanette C. Ellswick and James D. Taylor and Delina Taylor when the funds are received from the NRCS.
That's pass-through money from mitigation money from NRCS, United States Department. Got a motion? Have a second. Have a second, Mr. Johnson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Authorize registration fees and lodging for anyone who wishes to attend the Governor's Emergency Management Workshop at the Galt House Hotel, Louisville, Kentucky, December 12th and 13th, 2012.
Have a motion, have a second, have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? I'm so sorry. No, I got it right. Mr. Johnson, I left you out. Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Authorize registration fees and lodging for anyone who wishes to attend the 35th Annual Kentucky Transportation Conference at the Lexington Marriott Griffin Gate Resort, Lexington, Kentucky, January 10th through the 11th, 2013.
Have a motion. Motion, Mr. Robinson. Have a second, Mr. Johnson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
Anyone who's going to attend these two, please let me know in the next couple of days so I can go ahead and get lodging reserved at the two hotels and get an idea of who's going to go. Authorize a check up to the amount of $26,602 to Sheriff Charles Kazee when funds are received from the LGDF funds. This may have to be amended, is why we asked for it to be up to this amount, because Rhonda doesn't have correct documentation in order to draw it all at this point, but up to $26,602.
That's the question that I asked at the last meeting, so you have a motion. You have a second? Second, Mr. Johnson. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes.
I have no further business, Judge.
Do we need to go into executive session? We need executive session, Mr. Hart.
Motion to go into executive session pursuant to KRS 61-810, discuss specific personnel matters.
Have a motion, have a second.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson? Mr. Anderson?
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Pike County Fiscal Court will go back in session. Do I have a motion for the court to go back in session, please? Have a motion from Magistrate Murphy, second from Magistrate Robinson. Have a roll call vote.
Magistrate Anderson, Magistrate Johnson, Magistrate Murphy, Magistrate Robinson, Magistrate Dodson.
Yes.
Magistrate Harris.
Yes.
Judge Rutherford.
Yes. We're back into session, and we took a telephone call from Frankfurt while we was out. Magistrate Murphy and Magistrate Dodson, myself and Jeannie. The State Representative Hall was on the line with the Office of Local Government. Who was on there with him? The mayor of Elkhorn City was present.
Yeah.
And Amy Barnes. And they was discussing the fact that Elkhorn City was hadn't paid their bills and needed $250,000 to bring their bills up to date before they declared the city in bankruptcy. Of course, if we could help that, keep that from happening, we'd want to do it, and that was what all three of us said. They had a recommendation for us, and that is to make severance tax money available to Elkhorn City to pay their debt. But when you look at the way the prioritization went, and you had the Elkhorn City infrastructure was number 8, and we had at that time, Jeannie, the number 9 was Elkhorn City infrastructure, number 8 was the Phelps wastewater. She said that they only had $370,000 in the account presently for this month's money. But at the end of October, said to remember that she would have another $1 million in that account. But she said that they had requested that we change the Elkhorn City account on infrastructure, that we change it and put it one above the Phelps project and would not hold the Phelps project up. That will be a phased project anyway. At the end of the month, they can make that money available to them and they could get started. So then she talked about the problem that we had was brought up with her of the boiler. She said, solve your problems if you all are in session, and you move up the detention center money, which, what were they, Jeannie, on the detention center? They was number 36, said move it to number 9, and then put the Phelps wastewater, and it still would not bother their funding. So, Madam Clerk and Magistrate Dodson, I want you to speak to this, and of course Leo heard the conversation also. If this, and Rhonda has recommended on the Senior Citizens Program that we wait till the next meeting and get an understanding on it. And I think if we can get this done with solving our problem at the jail and buying this piece of equipment to get their hot water, that we've done yeoman's work today. And I think that you never know. We just walked in the office and took the call when we was going back for a closed session. So, Hillman, have I got it so the clerk can understand it and the way that you all heard it?
Yeah, Judge, that's understanding I got, and the way they talk, they would be some monies like $1 million turned loose here in the next little bit to take care of some of the projects that we've got online to take care of. And we will be discussing the senior citizens next meeting, Rhonda, I guess, and we've got a proposal to correct that
She gave us a recommendation, didn't she?
Yeah, she said we could take care of them things with the money they're going to turn loose. So,
Magistrate Murphy,
we're in pretty good shape. I'll make a motion, Judge, if that's what you want me to do.
I do, but I wanted Mr. Magistrate Murphy to say, if you understand it that way now?
Yes, we had Elkhorn City already for their infrastructure at $250,000 at number 9, and switched them to 8, and Phelps Sewer from 8 to 9, and Hillman said that would be all right, so that would really help things out a lot.
Leo, we're actually going to do Elkhorn City at 8, and then we're going to move the detention center project
so we can pay for the boiler,
to 9.
the hot water heater.
Yeah.
She said, take care of that problem, you don't have to worry about borrowing the money.
Ron, the way I understood her, and Judge, you correct me, that the infrastructure money they're going to need for the sewer project will probably just be doing it in phases, and they said they might be a year or two doing that project, and by that time all the monies would be in there to
Said she would
balance it all
guarantee-
back out.
Yeah, we do need part of that. Mount Wonder does need part of that for a match for CDBG that the court has approved for us to apply for. And we may, if we get that, we do need that, but we should have that by January.
She said she would guarantee that that project would not be held up, didn't she, Magistrate Dodson? So, Madam Clerk, I'm going to give you Jeannie's notes, and Jeannie can go over it with you to make sure you get the transferred in the right position. Have a motion and a second. Second by Magistrate Murphy. Have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Judge Rutherford?
Yes. Mr. County Attorney, would you handle the report of the personnel, please?
Sure. As a result of the session, Jimmy Bentley Jr., y'all correct me if there's any place, because I've made some markings. Jimmy Bentley Jr., weed mower / CDL driver, road lot area number 5 at Phelps, 3H rate of pay. Hello. Approval to hire Frank Sullivan as a temporary employee with no benefits for road lot number 6 at a 2H rate of pay, effective September 21, 2012, replacing Robert Booth, who is off on sick leave. Approval to hire Danny Taylor as a full-time packer truck driver for solid waste number 2 at Belcher at a 3H rate of pay, effective October 15, 2012, to replace John Reed. Approval to hire Bobby Mullins as a solid waste commissioner at a 5A rate of pay, plus longevity, effective October 16, 2012, to be replacing Mike Lyons, who has retired. Approval to hire Dino France as a solid waste foreman of area number 3 at a 4A rate of pay, plus longevity, effective October 16, 2012, to be replacing Tony Roberts, who has retired. Approval to hire Kristen Robinson as a temporary magistrate's assistant for district number 4 at a 1A rate of pay, effective October 15, 2012. She is replacing Terry Conley, who is off on sick leave. And approval to hire Robert Johnson as a special employee at a 5H rate of pay, effective 9/17/12, and continue as long as we have the blighted houses to be removed.
Thank you, Mr. County Attorney. That is my recommendation and my motion. Madam Clerk, have a roll call vote.
I need a second.
Second, please.
I'll second.
Have a second.
Mr. Anderson?
Yes.
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Murphy? Mr. Robinson? Mr. Dodson?
Yes.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Harris. Judge Rutherford?
Yes. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion. Go ahead, Magic.
We didn't terminate Frank Sullivan, did we?
Didn't have to. He stays.
That's what I'm making sure.
She's making sure on that, Frank Sullivan.
That's red right there.
Everything's fine. Good shape. Have a motion, have a second, have a roll call vote, please.